Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the third in our series of videos and calls about filling in the gaps in your understanding of what it takes to build your hands-on practice. And today, what we're going to talk about is money. If you've seen the first video, you know that the difference between marketing and client attraction is who you're talking to, and you know also the difference between those two things and client enrollment, and that client enrollment is really what gets you clients. So if you watched the second video, you know that your client attraction rate is really important and why it could be mathematically difficult for you to build a practice unless you increase your enrollment skills. And if you acted on the advice that I gave you at the end of those calls, you've looked at the heart-to-heart program and you know the cost of it. And that means that it's quite possible that you've already told yourself that you can't get the help you need because you just can't afford it. And that might be true, but if you've come back for this call, I think it very likely means that you want help, that you know you need it, and that you wish it made sense to spend the money on getting the help that you need. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Because I want to tell you something that's my truth. It's about me, and it's about why I do webinars like this. I have made a point of aligning my life purpose with my work. And my purpose is to lead practitioners out of mediocrity and into their own greatness so that they can become the transformational leaders who can help the people they came here to serve. It takes all my time. And I can't do it if I don't make a living. So I'm not going to lie to you. I need to make a living myself by aligning my work with my purpose on the planet, probably the way you want to do. Otherwise, I can't afford to be on purpose. And that's why I charge for what I do. Now, over the years, I've been talking to a lot of practitioners, and I've heard a lot about why they can't afford to work with me, just like you've probably heard from your clients why they can't afford to work with you. And out of all of those talks that I've had with people, I've put together what I think are the most important things that you should be thinking about as you consider this program for yourself and what you want to do to increase your client attraction and your client enrollment ability, because without that, you can't build the practice that you want. In order to do this today, you're going to need paper and pen and probably a calculator. So if you don't have them, just stop right now, go get them, and come back when you've gathered them. We're going to start inside yourself. So just close your eyes for a moment and envision the practice that you want. Now, I'm not talking about the one that you want in 10 years or the one that you have right now. I'm talking about the one that you wish you had right now. This is the one that you're ready to step into, the one that maybe you wish somebody would just drive up in a delivery truck and drop off the clients for them, because more than anything, what you want is just to do the work that you're here to do with the people who need it so that you can help them transform. When you think about that practice, that one that you really wish you had, how many people are there? How many people are you seeing in a week for private work? For classes? How many classes are you teaching if you teach classes? How many people are there lying on the floor? How much are you charging for those classes? For those private sessions? For that time with you? What do people pay you for that? Now, just open your eyes and write down on your paper, A, B, C, D. Write it down like this. My paper is bigger, right? So write it like this with room to the side. And next to A, write down the number of people that you want to see in a week. Now, if you teach classes, you're going to make that second column like I did. Otherwise, you just need one. But you do need this room over here. And In those places next to A, you write down the number of people that you want to see privately, and you write down the number of people that you're seeing in classes. So you might teach, for example, 5 classes a week with 20 people in each class, and that would be 100. Remember, this is the practice that you want, not the one that you currently have. So if it's about teaching classes, one of the things that you want to think about is how many people you want in your classes, not how many people fit in your studio, if that's where you're currently teaching, and your studio only holds 3 or 4 people. Okay, so this is really, it's about what are you dreaming about? This is your unavowed dream of the practice that you want. So write that down. And now B, the next line, that's the number of weeks that you want to work every year. So it might be 40, it might be 50, it's not going to be 52, but within reason. I am going to do this saying what I know practitioners want. When they talk to me, I hear pretty predictable things from most people. Most people say that they want 20 people a week. I'm going to say that class is 5 classes times, I made a mistake already, 5 classes times 20 people, and that equals 100 people a week. So my paper, because I'm doing it like that, my paper looks like this. And B is going to be how many weeks a year. So I'm going to say for private, let's just say 50, because that's easy. That's what I'm going to say, okay? And because classes sometimes have to do with other kinds of schedules, I'm going to say 40. So my messy paper looks like this. I have to tell you something funny. When I first, in my 20s, when I did one of the first workshops I ever did for personal growth back in the 1970s, the first evening, the first thing that we did was on big pieces of paper that the leader ripped off a big pad of paper, and we were supposed to go and put something on that paper, and we had like 15 minutes to do it. I spent the first 10 minutes dealing with the fact that my paper was ripped. It wasn't a perfect piece of paper. So this represents, that I can show this to you, this represents a huge leap in personal growth for me, that I made a mess and I'm showing it to you. So those are the first 2 numbers that you've got. Now, the next thing I want you to do is to multiply A times B and write it on the C line. So for me, that's going to look like this. Okay, now this is an interesting thing, and I have to tell you, what this is came out of the shower head this morning when I was taking a shower, because I've been thinking about how to make this really clear and understandable. And what I realized this morning is that there is something about, it's like opportunities. What I'm calling this is transformational opportunity points. These are the moments that you have in your practice that are opportunities for you to help another person transform their life. So if you work with 20 people a week for 50 weeks in a year, you have 1,000 transformational opportunity points in the year with those people. If you teach 5 classes a week for 40 weeks of the year and you've got 20 people in each class, you have 4,000 TOPs, transformational opportunity points. So just write that down. Now, this is the formula. It's 1 point for every client you contact in the course of the year, okay? So you can see that if you have that number of points in private and class time, you have a total of 5,000 opportunities over the course of the year. That's a lot. Now, I don't know what your numbers are because we haven't gone there, but whatever yours are, that is the desirable number that you have for your practice when it's running at full peak. It's the one that you wish that you had. All right, now, just take a moment and sit with what that feels like, that you would have that number of moments in the course of a year to help people transform their lives. What does it feel like to have the opportunity to make that kind of impact? What does it feel like to have that kind of meaning in someone else's life, the lives of many people? Okay, what do people say about yourself, about you? What do your clients, what do they say to their friends? What do they tell you? What is it that you would be hearing about yourself if you had that kind of opportunity? And remember, this is the practice that you're designing for yourself. It's not the one that I'm writing down on a fictitious piece of paper. What do you say about yourself in that situation? Now, I want to put another factor into our equation, because I said we were going to talk about money. So the next thing is, what is your fee for those private classes, private sessions, and for those classes? I'm going to use round numbers again. Okay, so I'm going to say that a private session is $100 and a class is $10. So we're going to write that on the D line. Okay. And what that gives us is, again, multiplying. Now we're going to multiply C by D. And what you get is 100,000 for private sessions. And wait for it, because I know practitioners don't like math. So I know you probably made a mistake on the zeros. That's why I use a calculator. 40,000 for classes, which means that you would have a yearly income of $140,000 if you used my numbers. Whatever your numbers are, just go ahead, use them, and figure this out. So the first thing, just to recap, what you do is you write down for A, the number of people you want to see in a week. B, how many weeks in a year you want to work. C, multiply A by B. D, write down your fee and multiply C by D. And that gives you the income that you would have. Now, what I want you to see with this is that it's possible to do good and earn money at the same time, and there's no shame in that. Not only that, if you look at this, you can see that $140,000 represents 5,000 transformational opportunity points. So the more the money, the more the possibility for opportunity to transform your clients' lives. Now, what I want you to understand about this is that it doesn't matter whether you think money is important or not. The reality here is that if you're not earning money, you probably don't have transformational opportunity points, right? So whichever thing is important to you, they're related to each other, and one can represent the other. And there isn't any problem just because you earn a living helping someone. But this is where we run into trouble, because what happens for us is that we think that all we should be doing is good in the world, and if we get something out of it, there's something wrong with it. You can't earn a living if you can't get past that. And you can't continue to do your work if you can't earn a living. So this is a big problem. We have to get past this. Now, I lost where I was in my thread. All right, so now I want you to make another column. So that's why I told you needed room over here, okay? This column is for last year, all right? And without getting too exact about it, which I know is a problem for some practitioners, so just, like, you're just going to ballpark this. You're not sitting with all the numbers in front of you. Just have a gut feeling. Write down the numbers that relate to last year. What have you been charging? That should be easy. Roughly, how many private sessions did you give? How many classes did you teach? How many people were in them? Okay, so how many transformational opportunity points did you have in the last year? Okay. Now, when you figure that out, give yourself a 10% bonus, because I think that it's really easy not on your fee, because you know what that was, but on estimating the other things, it's really easy to underestimate. So add 10% to it. Okay, when you're not sitting there with the numbers, we usually don't get it right. But what I want you to do next is to subtract those numbers from the ones that would be in your wished for practice, okay? That's really important. And do the same thing with your money, okay? Roughly how much did you earn, and how does it compare with the practice that you want? Now, my guess is that what's in that last column, all of those numbers are less than the numbers in the columns that you've already written down, or you wouldn't be here. So just go ahead and subtract them, each one. So this would be another column to the, keep going to the right on your paper. And what you need to understand here is that this is not only money that you didn't earn last year, but transformational opportunities that you didn't have because you didn't have a full practice. Now, this is a loss that you incurred. You incurred it personally, and it's a loss against purpose in your life because you didn't have the skill to attract and enroll the clients that you're here to serve. If you did, those people would have been in your practice. So we're going to do one more calculation, and there's a choice point here. So this is the choice point. If you've been a practitioner for a long time and you've seen a trend developing in your practice, and the trend is that things have been at the same level for a long time, then just use the numbers that you've already got. Okay, but if you haven't been a practitioner for very long, or if you've been a practitioner and you see that things are gradually getting better, or if you're hoping for a miracle, divide the loss by 2. Divide all your losses by 2. Otherwise, use the same numbers, okay? Now, whichever one of those you pick, what you're going to do is multiply that number by the number of years that you want to work from now until retirement. Okay, so we've built in that things can change unless things haven't been changing, all right? And just project this out over the next years. Me, I'm 68. I'm planning to be here at least 32 more years. That's the number I'd use. Whatever your number is, go ahead and put that in there. And now, just take the same number of years until retirement and multiply these numbers that you calculated before for the practice that you really want, the one that you wish you had. Multiply and get those numbers. And then subtract one from the other. And look at how much that is. Because what that is a representation of all the people that you are not going to be able to help if you don't get the skills you need to build your practice. And ask yourself if you could help all those people that money represents. If you could have all of those transformational opportunity points that money represents, would that be worth it to you? And what would it be worth to you? So here's the question that I want to pose to you. When you think about getting the help that you need to build your practice, how does the cost of getting that help stack up against these numbers? For example, if you've looked into the heart-to-heart program at all, my guess is that the cost of that program is a small fraction of what you lost last year by not having the skills that you need. And we could look at the cost of heart-to-heart in terms of how many transformational opportunities it represents versus the number of transformational opportunity points you're losing because you don't have the skills you need. And if you looked at all the years that you haven't had those skills, all the years you've been a practitioner and haven't had a full practice, you would have another way of seeing it. And what you see is that the cost of getting the skills is not really that big. It's not enormous. It's not the amount of money that it looks like when you see the number on the information page. And I have to tell you that I know that some of the people who are listening to a call like this only need to have the information and the impetus that this provides to go out and make a really big difference in what they're doing in their life and in their practice. But I also know that that might not be you. And if it's not you, I invite you to look at the Heart to Heart program again in light of what you uncovered in this call. Because if you need help with implementation, or if you don't know how to talk to people about your work in a way that makes people really want it, that makes them ask you how to work with you before you even offer it to them, if you feel like you've been doing it all alone and would like to be part of a supportive community that's doing it together, and if you really want to align your work with your life purpose, and you'd like to see that happen now rather than decades from now, I invite you to join us, because that's what Heart to Heart is about. That's who we are as a community, and that is what we learn and what we work on in order to build our practices. If you're not sure that this is right for you, I invite you to make an appointment to talk with me. You can do that right there on that page. The truth is, none of us are getting any younger, and every day we're losing another day of opportunities. We're losing time to make an impact on other people's lives the way we are here to do. We're closer every day to running out of time. And the question is not whether or not you want it. We both know you do, or you wouldn't be here today. The question is whether you're going to do what it takes to get it. Are you going to step up to help the people that you're here to help? Or are you going to fall back into listening to yourself make the excuses that you're so used to about why you can't do it? And I know that these excuses are there. I've got them too. We all have them. We have inner voices that present excuses to us on a nonstop basis in order to protect us from something that we often don't even know what the heck it is we're being protected from. They're not our enemies. They just don't know how to be our friends yet. I want to tell you that building a business that can sustain your practice means doing all the parts that are required to have that business. You have to have an enormous passion for what you're doing and for what you really want to do in order to make all of that work. A really simple example is all of the technological difficulties I've had in the last couple of days making these calls happen. If I didn't really want this to be out there, I would have given up and put a notice up on Facebook that said, you know what? I was going to do this, but you know technology is really terrible. It's a bitch, and I couldn't do it, so sorry. I didn't do that. I want you to have the information. I want you to get the practice you want. My commitment to this is so great that I made it bigger than all of those excuses. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. Because when you make your commitment bigger than your circumstances, that's when you get what you really, truly, deeply want. That's when you stop being taken down by those inner voices that don't yet know how to be a reliable support for you. It's when you stop making excuses and you step up to do the inner work that makes you the transformational leader that your clients can trust to take them to the next place on their own path, in their own journey, to becoming the people that they came here to be. So if you're ready for that kind of commitment to your own purpose and you need to build your attraction and enrollment skills, I invite you to join us in Heart to Heart. This is something you want. Don't wait. Just let your heart guide you. And if you need to talk with me, you can make an appointment right from the information page at AllisonRapp.com/H2H. Thanks so much for coming, and no matter what path you're on or what you need next, I wish you an amazing journey and a safe harbor. Bye-bye.